Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on Episode 1 of Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro, Second Attack. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So already it seems that there's a bit of a kerfuffle with the student council president. And I know the last season sort of concluded on the potential survival of the art club, although that was with the art club president more than anyone else, so I'm wondering if perhaps this is sort of like building up, I guess an anti-Nagatoro, as it were. You know, I think the Bible said something about that, like, ye shall know the tree of evil by the fruit that it produces, or something like that. You know, it's kind of odd that there's this much intrigue at the beginning. Oh dear, I think I know where things are going. So obviously this girl who's been very put upon now has prime blackmail material. You know, I thought things were going to be, like, inverted, but I guess she might end up being worse than Nagatoro if she's willing to, like, use actual blackmail rather than the person's natural proclivities and personality. What is it about this school that attracts such devious... Oh. You know what? I feel a little silly now. Doubly so now that, you know, Senpai here reads the manga and he's like, wow, this is familiar. I relate to the main character, but I don't know why. You know, I should have figured there would have been like a cold open or something like this. Now that said, I don't like where this is going either. Nagatoro is like, hey, I've got shoes. Guess what I put them on? My feet. Ha ha ha. This foot fetishism... I'm not the target audience for that. And I feel like Nagatoro thought that this was an appropriate avenue of attack. But... oh dear. She's familiar with the manga. Man, I don't know, like, Nagatoro's not, like, bullying him as much as she normally does, but things are already kind of interesting, you know. I don't read manga, but boy do I relate with the protagonist in this one. Isn't that weird, Senpai? What are the odds of that, I wonder, that they both happen to read the same manga and relate to the characters, but they don't really know why? Oh dear. Senpai is trying to put up a tough front, and I don't think he's being entirely truthful. I mean, really, you shouldn't bluff. Nagato is just gonna call you on it. Oh no. Oh dear, indeed. This is... like, look, you know what? I can indulge a little bit of teasing, but when you start putting, like, tongue to shoes, that's where I draw a very hard line. Now, surely Nagatoro can't be serious about this, can she? Like, I mean, that's just gross no matter how you look at it. Licking somebody's shoe. You know, it seems like maybe she was just sort of bluffing, but nevertheless, you know, fate has sort of forced both of their hands. Oh no. Dude, don't do it. Surely he can't do it. Okay. Alright, I'm glad to be made a fool of if this prevents Senpai from becoming a foot fetishist. Good lord, that would truly be a fate worse than death. You know, thinking about it, maybe the person Nagatoro has really been teasing the most is us, the audience, with how this episode started. You know, all that business with the manga, and then, you know, hey, Senpai could start licking shoes, wouldn't that be great? I'm a little rattled, honestly. You know, I guess it's to be expected, but I don't know. At least the way this season's starting out, Nagatoro and Senpai have a bit of a better relationship. I mean, that's not exactly saying a whole lot, seeing as how they still sort of interact, but I mean, at least right now, Senpai's almost considering initiating contact in a positive way. Not that it's likely to do him much good. Oh dear. So I feel like Nagatoro, you know, she could get a lot of mileage off of maybe just like encouraging him a little bit here rather than tease him about it. I mean, she's sort of saying like, hey, as an upstanding law-abiding citizen, I should report you to the police. And obviously that's too far, considering his intentions were actually nice and like somewhat appreciated, if that sort of transitory expression was any indication. That said, you know, I don't think Nagatoro is acting entirely on the level here. I mean, if that's how you greet somebody you know, I don't know what to make of that. I feel like I wouldn't want to interact with people who greet people like that. You know, come to think of it, I also really don't like the term skinship. There's something that just doesn't feel right about that term, and I can't quite put my finger on it. It's just like, it seems to me that it just indicates like physical contact, but I don't know. Like, it's like a weird portmanteau, and I think it implies much more intimacy than perhaps it should. So I feel like Nagatoro is venturing onto shaky ground here. You know, I remember what high school was like, and, you know, making any kind of physical contact with anybody of the opposite gender was usually a recipe for disaster. It probably doesn't help that Nagatoro is trying to gaslight him into believing that everything she's doing is a perfectly normal interaction with the friend. And seeing as how she's trying to get him to go along with this, you know, somehow I don't think she's going to take too kindly to it if he just sort of like ran up and slapped her in the back of the head. You know, surely that would provoke at least a little bit of ire. I mean, I know if one of my friends just sort of ran up and hit me, I wouldn't be too happy about it, regardless. So yeah, you know, it seems like I was right. Unfortunately, Senpai got a little too excited from that hug. I mean, whether it's true or not, Nagatoro is certainly going to broadcast it. I mean, she acts like he's a loser for something like that, but, you know, when you're that age, like, geez, like, a gust of wind will do it for you. So Senpai's, I think he's going down a dangerous road here. He's actually considering, like, maybe smacking her in the back of the head, or sort of hugging her from behind. Nothing good lies down that path at this stage in the game. Fortunately, we have a lovely uneven sidewalk to thank for this advancement in the plot. Speaking of which, Senpai got a big ol' handful of plot. Good for him, I suppose, but, you know, Nothing good is going to come out of this, I imagine. Oh, and if it weren't bad enough, now Nagatoro's friends are here too. Surely this can only compound the issue. Well, there we have it. It turns out Nagatoro was just telling fibs. They just sort of greet each other like human beings. Now, this is an interesting dynamic that I've noticed start to crop up where Nagatoro just wants to spend time with Senpai and her friends want to butt in, but she's sort of reticent to allow that. But, if she does go along with them and do whatever they're doing, she also wants to bring him along. So it would seem as though it's a bit of a cultural festival after party, presumably to celebrate the festival going so well. I mean, I guess there is something to celebrate about, considering Senpai basically managed to save the art club through his effort. And now we're finally back in the art club, I was kind of wondering when it would show up, seeing as how it was such a big fixture of the first season. Uh-oh. So, I guess this is better than messing around with shoes and feet, but Nagatoro has decided, I guess, to put on tights now that it's so cold. Now, it's interesting that Senpai shows, I guess, a little bit more interest. And, you know what? Fair enough. That's kind of an interesting phrase that Nagatoro voices. Skirts are worn with willpower. I mean, I guess I would kind of have to agree. If you're, willing to wear a short skirt in the cold. But, it seems like Senpai is a bit of a man of culture here, He might not abhor tights, but he's certainly a thighs man. And who can really blame him? But unfortunately, it would seem as though this is something he can be teased about. I feel like this is approaching risky territory here. I mean, surely Nagatoro... Oh no. Yeah, alright, what's the catch here? Is somebody gonna, walk in on Senpai putting on tights for her? Oh dear. I mean, depending on how high those tights go up, I feel like this is gonna get really interesting in short order. Because, I feel like this is something where Nagatoro is sort of hoping Senpai will back out first. Because if he doesn't, it's gonna get awkward. I mean, I guess that was sort of a good idea in theory. Pretend you're putting a daikon radish in a plastic bag at the supermarket, but I don't know. I don't know if Senpai has enough willpower to sort of refrain from noticing what precisely is going on here. I mean, Nagatoro's even having trouble maintaining composure, so that's how you know it's serious. Yeah, Senpai is venturing pretty far north with his hands there. I can only imagine, Oh, there we go. Nagatoro blinked first. It's interesting how she treats him as being at fault when this was her idea in the first place. I mean, I guess you really only have yourself to blame if you accuse him of really liking thighs and then putting him in a position to enjoy them. So now if it wasn't thighs before, it's tights now, you know. There's really no winning for this poor guy. So this is interesting, you know. All the girls are being oddly generous in that, you know, they're sort of offering to pay for the majority of this. You know, I feel like there's got to be some sort of a catch here, like... Wait a minute, Nagatoro eating Negitoro? What did she mean by this, I wonder? Alright, so it would seem as though Senpai is sort of like their own personal waiter by sitting right next to the conveyor belt. Oh dear. I mean, all things considered, being the person to pull things off the conveyor belt is probably better than... I guess some of the situations he'd been put in before. I mean, nicely enough, you know, Nagatoro's not above reaching out and grabbing something for him. You know, I guess that's sort of evidence of a bit of progress, you know. Nagatoro's not picking on him ruthlessly, she's just sort of picking on him most of the time and then being nice every now and again. And not only is she being nice to him, she's sort of getting her friends to be nice to him as well. Oh dear, so now they're all sort of like trying to fatten him up, like, you know, Senpai, you have to have a better diet that's higher in fats. So I have to admit, I'm sure this sequence is going to be lost on me if all they're going to be doing is eating sushi. Seafood is not for me, but... you know, they seem to be sort of like mixing and matching the sushi, as it were. You know, salmon roe on salmon. And, I guess everybody's doing their own sort of unique thing here. I mean, I don't know. It's no great thing that they're doing, but I guess they're sort of in their own way showing appreciation for Senpai. Notably, all her friends are taking part in this, and Nagatoro's getting jealous. And it seems like she's sort of trying to, recapture the initiative here. But... I don't know, like, her attempted humor here seems to have fallen kind of flat. And it's sort of like this interesting dynamic where Nagatoro, in her attempt to pick on Senpai, has become cringe to the point where her friends are sort of noticing and saying, like, well, you know, it's kind of lame behavior. And, you know, like, as easy as Senpai is to pick on, like, Nagatoro's almost done a better job of making herself a target. You know, it's almost like she's hanging out with Senpai too much and his sort of nerdy tendencies are rubbing off on her. I mean, that said, Senpai has the good grace to sort of go along with her and, I guess, save a bit of face for her. She's not especially gracious about it, but, you know, she sort of has to maintain a certain level of appearance in front of her friends, I guess. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.